me to an EndSARS WhatsApp group. It's a long time ago to discuss EndSARS and police brutality. This was something that Sega Awosanya started. I never met Sega at that time. And I was part of that WhatsApp group discussing strategies to fight police brutality until my hands were just too full. I was doing Sahara Reporters full time in those days and had to recuse myself from it. But I kept monitoring, until the most recent one, which was 2020, when again there was that event that happened in Dele, and myself and Deji, who's somewhere here, Raf, Adebayo, planned the first protest in Abuja, and we went to the police headquarters with blood and painted EndSARS in front of the place. And then after that, it just erupted across the country. So that's my very brief encounter with EndSARS. But it started with my relationship. My relationship started way back with Sega Usanya, and that was how.
Thank you so much for that, sir. Sega, are you available now? All right. Let's keep.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, brilliant. We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Good evening. Kindly introduce who you are, sir, and your relationship to the movement, please.
Okay. My name is SEGALink for short. I'm the convener of EndSARS Reform Police NG Advocacy before it became a protest. And I'm glad to have a lot of founders here, co-founders here. Mr. Sowore is here, Deji is here. That's the man who organized the very first press rally, which was more or less like a rally in Abuja when we started in 2017. Even though as of 2016, the discussion and the dialogue had been on with the likes of Sowore, Dr. Yemi Amushon. Can you hear me? Can you see him?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, with the likes of Sowore, Dr. Yemi Amushon, Abu Mahmoud, and several other people, in fact, Ralph and the rest of them. These are the people who actually gave that encouragement in the beginning days of the EndSARS Reform Police NG Advocacy. The way it was designed, I thank God that one of the brightest minds engaged in the room today, who happened to be one of the people who crafted the blueprint for the EndSARS Reform Police NG, advocate, which was, designed around ensuring that we have an objective and an end goal that clearly presented a platform for everyone to key into the vision of the advocacy, which was actually designed as a matrix where everyone can find belonging. And I'm glad today that the movement has grown to the point where it has many fighters on the protest front. But I must acknowledge the work put into this, the belief system, the understanding, the commitment of every single person here who has one or two things to do with the advocacy and the protest as it were, because we're speaking the same language, we are aiming at the same things, and we are trying as much as to ensure that the culture of impunity is stamped out of our institutions in Nigeria, as well as ensuring that we have a universal institutional reforms across institutions in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sega. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate you. All right. I'm now going to ask if Dr. Yemi, can you hear me now? Dr. Yemi, are you there? All right. Roy, are you there, please? Roy, are you there? Dr. Yemi, you've unmuted yourself. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, sir. Kindly introduce who you are and your relationship to the movement.
Okay, my name is Yemi Amushon. As a result of my medical degree, I'm usually called Dr. Yemi. We're very big into titles in this part of the world, but Yemi is my name. And EndSARS, I first got introduced to the movement by Sega, and he came as a result of a burden he'd had regarding many cases of persons who were having run-ins with the police, and the fact that there didn't seem to be any voice or any recourse for justice for them. And so he came to me with this idea of what he was trying to do. And I remember back then, one of the first things we looked at was how it could become more than just a slogan or a hashtag. Because I'm a very big believer that everything you do today must count for something that you want to achieve tomorrow. And you must be able to leverage whatever influence you have for a greater good. And I believe that the EndSARS movement began as a lever, as it were, to find a platform for discourse, for engagement, in some cases for confrontation, but by and large, as a way of giving voice to the many injustices that were taking place and unfortunately still are taking place in the country, and being able to position people of integrity, people who are forward thinking, to be able to position them in a place where they could actually engage with the levers that control many of the powers that be. I'm sure as we go into this conversation a little deeper, we'll get a bit of it into one of the things that is generally wrong with the concept of protest as we tend to engage in this part of the world. But by and large, it was through Sega, that vision to create a platform, and the fact that I was privileged to sit with him on the strategy table and come up with certain protocols that would determine how the movement could grow into what it's become today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yemi. Thank you so much for that. And you're right. We will definitely be coming back to that kind of conversation later on in this discuss. Enifa, are you there, please?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Enifa, we can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Enifa Judgewell. I greet you from the troubled waters of Rivers State. I'm actually, brief introduction, yeah. I'm actually the chairman of Rivers State Civil Society Organizations, a coalition of responsible and non-partisan CSOs here in Rivers State. I'm equally one of the co-conveners of EndSARS protests in Port Harcourt and Rivers State. I think I came over my colleague as a person. The kind of work I do as a civil society person, I face police brutality. I receive complaints of police brutality firsthand. In fact, in most of the critical cases we talk about, from the Ikoku 4, the popular Ikoku 4, as the mechanic case Baba mentioned, to that of Slick, to that of the Uniport student that the police robbed and forgot their phone in his vehicle. So a lot of them. The other Jumo was killed in front of Minokoro police station. He was coming back from training. They asked him to open his iPhone. He said, why? They accused him of being a Yahoo boy. He opened it. And before he would spell Jack, merely because he refused to part away with money in front of a police station, Jumo was shot to death. You know, and several terrible stories we hear every day as civil society actors. EndSARS. So for us in River State, like Kemba said, it's a near daily occurrence. And I don't know, apart from Kemba, I don't know if any of you is used to River State. We're a very reactionary state. By that I mean, we are living in a state where people don't tend to agitate or don't tend to ask questions, you know, and that is because there's so much money in politics and monies are spread everywhere without even judiciously using this money to develop the state. What you see is money spread everywhere. So people want to chop, you know, we have the chop mentality down here in River State. No apologies, I'm a Rivers man, but that's the mentality. But these things happen on near daily basis. I can tell you for free that we will have more of these cases in River State than any other state, you know. So, but when the case of Slick happened, you know, it was like we got it too much. Two young men, Slick went to see his friend while they were going back. Members of anti-kidnapping started chasing them for nothing, calling them Yahoo boys. And while they were trying to ask questions, what did we do? Before you know, a police officer shot them, you know, and killed one of them. Fine, we have taken the matter to court and got a financial compensation for Slick. But then we are yet to get conviction for the shooter. In fact, for the anti-kidnapping men that chased him before the police officer shot him to death, as I speak to you, they have been released and they are now back into the society, you know, and allowed to commit more havoc. This is our situation. I think as the conversation progresses, we'll give more insight, you know, to these issues. But I think for me that's my brief introduction.
Thank you so much, Enipa. Thank you so much for that. And you're right, again, these are the kind of things that will be coming up in this discuss. I'm going to try again to reach out to the last four speakers for an introduction. If not, we will move on with the conversation. Roy, are you there, please? Roy, are you there, please? Last call for Roy. All right.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Roy. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Kindly introduce who you are and your relationship to the movement in about 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Roy, an online publicist based in Port Harcourt. My relationship with the movement is that I was opportune as an entertainer. I know Slick, and when Slick was murdered, as Keo rightly puts, it was not murdered by SARS. It was murdered by another unit of the police. We had our different experiences. I've experienced SARS, not like brutally though, but I had a little share of the ugly experiences. And it's not something I will wish anybody, it's not something I will pray for anybody. So my own beats, I did my own part of the movement online and also offline. We joined the protest here in Port Harcourt. And it was a peaceful one. We had the peaceful protest in Port Harcourt. For the first time, I saw how people came out, our mothers came out, and I could see people passionate for a change. Even the people we call Agbero and the street boys, they all came out. Everybody was so united. Never in my life as a Nigerian have I witnessed what I witnessed during the EndSARS protests. And it tells a lot how tired we are of the way things are in Nigeria. And I'm so happy that this revolution, although, yeah, we might not have gotten everything we wish for, but it was a good start. And I'm hopeful, I'm positive that everything will work out well very soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And I appreciate the hope that you still have that everything will work out soon. And I think it's because we still, regardless of the situation on ground, hold out a candle of hope as well that we are able to have this conversation this evening. Dele, are you there, please? Dele, are you there? Dele, are you there, please? All right. Comrade, are you there, please?
Yes, hello, good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Please introduce who you are and your relationship to the EndSARS movement in a couple of minutes. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. My name is Deji. I hope you can all hear me. Yes, so my relationship with the movement started around 2016 thereabout, when myself and Sega, we got talking about police brutality and the need for us to have a framework about how these things are being done. You know, Sega had already been helping people, you know, who get extorted by the police and all that. But I kept talking with him. I said, we need to have something bigger, you know. So I think it was Sega that started the whole EndSARS hashtag. Then I called him on the phone. I said, because I just like I fondly call him, I said, Prof, I said, I really love this hashtag. I think instead of using too many scrap SARS, I think we should stick with EndSARS. But you know, we started discussing and we decided that, oh, let's create a group and let's make the group as holistic as possible and bring in all stakeholders, you know, into the group and see how, you know, everything can pan out. And which was exactly it. We created a group, we decided to bring stakeholders, you know. Sega did almost all the work. That's why I called him convener of the movement, and those who oppose or who have issues with him, I always just laugh about, you know, their differences with him. The truth must be said. He is the one that did 90% of the whole job at its inception. You know, I was just always calling him and urging him on, and we did the framework. However, you know, just like we at a point we were like, should we make it just an administrative, systematic, or institutional framework thing, or we should make it, you know, a more holistic movement? And I was the view, and I kept pushing for the view that this must transcend a social media thing. It must be physical, it must be online, it must lead to protest. Because just like Martin Luther King and several others, I believe that hitting the street is the only message that the leaders can ever understand, you know. And Sega was more of the view that, no, let it be more, you know, institutionalized base, you know, and all that. I also agree that we shouldn't always seem as if we want to just confront the system. So in reaching a middle ground, we agreed that it should be a mix of both, which was what we agreed and we did. So we started planning towards the first major event to launch EndSARS, which was in 2017. Sega flew in from Lagos. We had this big rally in Abuja. We reached out to so many people. They joined. Aisha Yusufu came, and several other people came. You know, we had a press briefing. Sega led the press briefing and also the protest and everything. It went well. But after that major event, the hashtag kept trending. We discovered, why are so many people tweeting with the hashtag but afraid to come out? So we kept having these conversations around EndSARS. Then finally, we said to ourselves, after like a year plus, I think Kolade Johnson died, and it sparked so much outrage. He had just gone to the football viewing center to watch football, and the police just shot him at close range. So we said we must protest again. So we protested. I remember the former Inspector General of Police received us in his office, you know, and or is it, I think it's this one. I can't remember. He received us. I led the delegation. He received us when he's in the office, you know, and we spoke extensively about the need to stop police brutality. He committed to police reform. Nothing happened. so a year plus or so, we did another rally. Then finally, 2010 came. We said to ourselves, especially myself and Sowore, we met, we said, listen, this thing has taken too long. Sowore had always been in the picture from 2017, I must add, since we created a WhatsApp group. Although, just like Sowore had said, he was a little bit distracted at the time because his hands were full. However, in 2020, myself and Sowore, we met, we said, listen, I think this thing has gone on for too long, that we must turn this EndSARS thing to a global movement. And as we were discussing at every given time, I was reaching out to Sega and almost everybody. But however, myself and Sowore, we decided that we cannot continue to wait. And that was why we made that first major rally at the force headquarters. We gathered at the force headquarters, we had a major rally. In fact, I remember the police were practically laughing at us. They thought we were joking. Then we convinced comrades, Juwon, Osho, all comrades with them in Lagos to go and start the Lagos protest. Because we knew that the Abuja people, there were too many Ajabatas in Abuja. So it would be hard to start an effective resistance in Abuja. So we convinced people to go to the Lagos Alausa Secretariat and start the protest in Lagos, which was exactly what happened. And the first night was tough. We were on the phone with almost everybody. Then the second night, immediately the police came to attack. That was a turning point because there was so much outrage. Our concern was, how do we sustain the protest for the first 3-4 days? That was our concern throughout the process. And so we were doing everything within our power to not just to motivate people who are on ground or provide support, either money at the initial stage or provide other logistics. Sowore did a lot of that. I did that. Sowore couldn't go anywhere. I had to go to Lagos secretly. But we had decided from the beginning that because we had always been calling people to come out, that we must allow the people of Nigeria own the process, and we take a back lead, and that was the essence is because immediately we lead the process, they will say, oh, it's Sowore and Deji. So we wanted it to be a Nigerian people-driven thing so that people can own it. And I'm so excited today that the movement has grown to be a global movement, that everybody now owns the movement. That is the greatest joy that, I can confidently say, oh, we achieved something in our lifetime. It's also important to point out that many people before the EndSARS movement went global, before the celebrities joined, all these people joined, we had been preaching to people, trying to convince them. People did not believe that it was going to be anything major. But it immediately became major. Everybody wanted to identify with the movement. Everybody wanted to say, oh, I'm part of EndSARS, I'm this. But our joy is that in our generation, what many people thought that was impossible happened in our generation. Thank you. However, I must also add that I have another panel that I'm going to go join on Twitter, so I may not be here for long, and I want to just crave your indulgence to allow me to exit at 8 p.m. so I can join the other session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, comrade. We appreciate your time here with us, and also thank you for letting us know. It's much appreciated, and you are free to leave when the time comes. Thank you so much for that. And last but not the least, from our speakers this evening, Ikenna, are you there, please?
Hi, good evening. Yes, I'm here.
Hi, good evening, Ikenna. Kindly introduce to us who you are and your relationship with the movement in 1 or 2 minutes, please.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Barrister Ikenna Abaso. My involvement, I'm a concerned citizen of Nigeria who wants to see Nigeria's true beauty be actualized. So I joined the movement, and first of all, thank you to everyone who originally started the movement. I'm part of the young men who have faced some form of brutality from SARS and generally from our leaders, our government, our people who hold position of responsibility and who have turned it into an irresponsibility. My involvement at EndSARS, very simply, I helped with the organization of food at the Lekki Tollgate. We also organized security for the toll gates because we did know that people would try to infiltrate it or cause havoc. So we organized food and security for the Lekki toll gates all the period of time we were out there. But the most important thing that we accomplished, and yes, we did not accomplish everything on the list, but the most important thing that needed to be accomplished is unity. At these toll gates, which I was at every day, I cannot speak for other locations because I was only there. There was no issue of tribe. There was no issue of religion. Nobody even asked anybody where you were from. We all just knew that we were Nigerians. It's the most beautiful thing. I think I definitely shed a tear or two, seeing the unity of Nigerians, seeing us all just come together, irrespective of all the nonsense that we have been spoon-fed to believe. I see no reason why anybody from anywhere else in Nigeria will not be regarded as my brother just because you are not Igbo like me. That is very irrelevant. We are all the same. This is about humanity. Every creature that is created in human fashion is a human being and must be accorded some level of respect and love. So naturally, from the passion, I guess you guys can see why I'm involved, and I'm happy and willing. The reason why I'm here is if there's any way we can contribute, I hope we're going to take it from where we have gotten to where we can take it, which is why I came here to hear of any solutions or way forward or how we can come together and come up with solutions. That is simply why I'm here. I'm a concerned citizen of Nigeria. That is really much the best introduction for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ikenna, and thank you for all you did during the protest. And thank you to anybody else on this platform who also participated actively during the time. I'm now going to refresh the house, and then I will be passing some more information to us. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. This is The Surge, the political matters segment for the White House family. If you are not joining the house, kindly click the little green icon and follow the house and become a member. Also follow all the mods and all the speakers on stage. These are just some, or this is just a tip of the iceberg of the type of conversations we have here in this house. And by following the speakers and following the mods, especially, it gives you the opportunity to be pinged into rooms so that you don't miss out on important conversations like this. The topic today is EndSARS 1 year on. We're setting the record straight and we're looking at the way forward. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. And believe me, the conversation is actually just getting started. So you've not missed anything so far. So now we've heard about all the speakers and how they were or are associated with the EndSARS movement. We have varying lengths of time of involvement with the movement. Ranging from those from the very, very inception or conception of the idea in itself, right up to those who were on ground more recently. And when I say that, I'm referring to last year during specific protests. So this is what is going to happen, everybody. For everybody down in the ghoul, that is the people not on stage, this is the way we are operating today. There is not going to be hand raising. Rather, I would like you to please, if you have a question or you want to comment or share an experience, kindly back channel either Boma, that is the beautiful lady in pink next to me, or Ibrahim, that is the gentleman in green next to Boma, just back channel saying hi. All you need to do is say hi. Do not send them a paragraph message. Nobody's going to read it. Just say hi. And at the time, we will be brought up on stage to ask your question, to make your contribution or your comment. Once that is done, you will be returned back to the gulag. I think that is clear for us all. So just back channel saying hi to either Boma or Ibrahim. When the time comes, you will be invited up to the stage. You ask your question and you will be returned back to the gulag. This is so that the stage is kept clear and well coordinated. I would also like to now recognize the presence of Dele Farutimi. I think the network is working in our favor now. Dele, can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear. And it wasn't the network. Don't mind old Luddite me. I'm the one who couldn't figure out what I needed to do. But at least I guess all is well that ends well. I'm in
all
now.
Is well that ends well. Thank you so much for joining us. All right.
It's a pleasure.
So before I move to that, I will give you the same opportunity I accorded your co-speakers. Kindly introduce who you are very briefly for us and your relationship to the movement, please.
My name is Dele Farutimi. As one of the speakers have pointed out, some of them were there right from day one. Some of us are essentially Johnny come latelys. I was looking on from the sidelines as the movement was emerging. Looking on because for me, there was something historical about it, in the sense that I was watching myself, my generation, fighting the old wars that we had fought, because it was the same battles that we fought in our youth that I saw the EndSARS movement fighting again, even though it conceptualized the struggle differently. We thought we had a pro-democracy struggle in front of us. We saw the impunity, and we imagined that the impunity represented a need to democratize the country, and that once it was democratized, the problem would disappear. And then I saw this generation grappling with the same monster, but this time around dealing with a single issue of police brutality. And as the guys from Port Harcourt have pointed out, it was the anti-kidnapping unit in Port Harcourt. So essentially, it was a reaction to police brutality as a factor. But I could see it beyond police brutality. I could understand the fact that it was the same impunity that is required to be enforced that has ensured that the Nigerian police is not anchored to law. So I was watching all this from afar, wondering exactly what the Nigerian youth engaged with EndSARS thought they were doing. I think at the point I asked the question, the lazy youth, are you plotting a revolution? Because that is the only thing it will take to truly end SARS, which is actually just a byword for impunity. So for me, it was more of a post-mortem thing, watching the thing unfold. And then it happened and I started seeing the reaction. That was the point where I became involved. Other than to watch as an observer at the beginning, I visited the protest ground in Lekki largely as an observer because I was curious as to exactly what was going on, because I always knew that it was never going to end with SARS until you end the system that supports the impunity which SARS enforces. You can never end SARS. So by the time the inevitable happened on the 20th, which was always that the Nigerian state was going to respond with fear, the gentleman from, I think it was Roy, when he was talking, he raised the issue of how there was a passion for change in that generation, in that time. This time last year, there was a deep passion for change. And if you really think about it, when a despotic system that is found on impunity is confronted with a yearning for change that this gentleman described dispassionately or with passion as a passion for change. He even went on and said, this revolution, then there is a systemic fear that led to what happened on the 28th. The system was afraid. Buhari saw it as a coup attempt. And if I may say so, rightly so, because what we are demanding is essentially the end of impunity. But I'll leave all this for the substantive discussion. So yes, some of us were merely watching, wondering what was going on, became more and more convinced as we watched that what was being demanded was a revolution through the back door. Now it has become apparent to all of us. When we start doing the postmortem, I'm sure we'll get there, but there are lessons that must be learned from what has passed. Thank you.
Dele, just shake some tables and, thank you. I love that. I love that. And the conversation is really, really heating up. So just before I allowed Dele introduce himself, I was explaining the process for participation. What I failed to mention, and I apologize for so doing, is if you want to remain anonymous in your submission, whilst I encourage all of us to be courageous and be bold, I respect those who would rather not. Feel free to type your message to the same people, that is Ibrahim and Boma, and it will be read out. I also want to say it clearly, and I'm hoping I'll only have to say it once. Keep it respectful, please. This is a progressive discussion. This is a discussion really trying to get to the root of a matter and, really think. And there's no need for it to, descend into anything otherwise. So let's always keep things respectful. So at this point, I'm now going to ask the speakers on the stage. I think just for the purpose of the story, as I've understood it, I think we should probably start from Sega. And sir, I'll be giving you about 3 to 5 minutes. I know it's not a lot of time, but I also know that the back channels are really filling up. So, but I'll be giving you, let's go for 5 minutes to now give more of your full submission about, as like I said, we are sort of restricting it to last year, but I also know you are pre-last year. And, the way things went and what's your take on it and the likes. I'm not going to sort of, hint you on things to say. So I hope that's clear enough for you. Sega, are you there, please? And are you ready?
Yes, I'm here. I was born ready. And I won't take up to your time. I'm not going to take too much time to explain this. The essence of last year is just to clear the air about the perception that the agitation started last year. That would be an injustice to those who are given their resources, those who are given their time to craft a roadmap for this on a platform for this dialogue to begin.
Sega,
the EndSARS reform police NG advocacy is not. Internet has been the devil all the while, though.
We can, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I said that over the years, so to say that to limit the discussion or the dialogue to the narrative to last year would be to do a great injustice to those who have spent resources, who have spent their time, their energy, their passion, their commitment, their conviction on charting the path for whatever that happened last year, to be built upon it. So we cannot limit ourselves to last year. And again, we cannot say EndSARS a year on. The protest was last year, a significant moment, a watershed moment, and also something that we can actually be proud of our youth for. At least they've sat back for a while, supporting in the back end, tweeting and doing all sorts. And when the EndSARS Reform Police NG advocacy started, one of the problems we had was bringing people out of their shells, even to make people complain about the atrocities that was and impunity that was meted against them, with the police. It used to be very difficult. Even when we want to represent them in cases and all, some of them will not even come to court. So it was really difficult then to get people to come out of their shell. But over time, people started coming out to sign petitions. People started coming out, to engage, with rallies and the rest. So it was a progressive thing. And we were recording, we were mapping, there were so many programs that were around the EndSARS Reform Police NG advocacy then. In fact, I remember the Ezekwesilis, the twins in London, coming together to do the data work. I remember Citizens Gavel. There were so many organizations. So the EndSARS Reform Police Advocacy, NG advocacy, wasn't designed to be owned. There wasn't any vertical collectivism. There wasn't any pyramid for anyone to sit on. We're all growing laterally. And we appreciate the fact that people acknowledge and own it as theirs today, because that was the original design, because it was grown and built as an organic movement that sought to end or shut down the culture of impunity in Nigeria and focus more on universal institutional reforms. We only started with the police institution, where we're dealing with the criminal justice system as a whole. So that's exactly the background to that. And I cannot, but appreciate the effort of the likes of Dr. Yemi Amushon, the likes of Deji, the likes of Omoyele Sowore, the likes of Temitope, Maja Kodumi, who held Lagos, and several other people that I've not even met, who held this on, made it theirs, put in their contributions and the rest. But of course, a lot, when things get to the stage of protest, like I always tell Deji, since 1844 that we've been talking, that the moment you declare something to be all free and everybody get involved, control becomes an illusion. It is not something you can own or you can control, because everybody, every citizen of this country, call them hoodlums, call them protesters, call them whatever it is you want to call them, they have a stake. They are citizens and they have the right also to shout and chant EndSARS. And then the moment you declare that, whatever it is they do, you also have to own. If they are arrested, you also have to stand up for them and engage them. And as we all, most people will attest, all through the EndSARS protest, on the media, on the platform, they all had my support. I kept on saying, the protesters, Google is our friend, the protesters will not leave whatever they are occupying until they get a response from the government. Because at some point, there was a miscommunication. It wasn't true also that nothing happened over the years after we've started, because again, we started from the legislative end. There were so many engagements. In fact, there was a time, the very first, apart from the rally in Abuja, we had a parley, with the ranking officers of the Nigerian police force, all from the force headquarters at the Muson Center, where Dr. Yemi hosted that particular engagement. Then we moved on from there. We went back to Abuja to have a parley with the entire police structure when the SARS was born. That was the discussion that actually limited the SARS operatives to certain operational procedure. And it was a progressive thing, because again, anything you do, any change you put in place without legislation is just a stopgap. A change of IG is going to, make it seem as if you have never done anything. And we experienced that. We never promised an immediate change, because we believe and we know for sure that change is going to be progressive, because we're dealing also, mind you, we're in a studio democracy. We're under an administration that lacks empathy and one that hardly carried the youth along. So we actually understand and understood the issues that were before us as at that time. But again, going before 2020, we had some significant moments. In 2019, the Police Trust Fund was launched. In 2020, before October, we had the Police Act for the 2020, which actually democratizes the police. And of course, it is not just the law that will stand up and fix things until we monitor the implementation and we evaluate all the things that needed to be done. And that was a continuous process until the watershed moment, Ugeli incident.
Sorry to cut you, Sega. Sorry to cut you just there. I'm wondering if you would indulge me. I'm very conscious that Comrade has to run. So if he can just quickly give his submission, and then we'd come back to you. Is that okay?
That's fine. Comrade, please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for indulging me. And also I want to thank Sega for all the sacrifices he has made over the years. Like I say, we must always give honor to whom honor is due. It's important to state categorically that, this whole idea and culture of fear that has been created by our rulers, because I wouldn't call them leaders, because these are not people who are leading. Under the military regime, people were protesting, criticizing government. And now we have a so-called democracy, and the current government has practically criminalized protests. You know, I just read a statement from the Lagos Police Commissioner criminalizing protests or any mark of EndSARS anniversary in Lagos tomorrow. And it's extremely laughable, because when someone who is supposed to enforce the law does not know the law, you know, it's just sad. It's a paradox of some sort. And in my mind, I keep wondering, what kind of a republic is this? Because even in an animal farm, you know, comedies like this will not be tolerated in an animal farm. You know, so, and this is the reason why you see many people, somebody we call the country a zoo, and validly so, because even in a zoo, things like this will not happen. You know, Nigeria is the only country in the world where you are protesting police brutality and the police is still brutalizing you and killing you. People were sitting down on the ground in Lekki Toll Gate, waving a Nigerian flag. The army was firing live rounds at them. And the same army had the guts to deny, but subsequently admitted. So you can see that the problem we have is institutional. I keep telling people that why did we even have to start EndSARS in the beginning? You know, it's about the culture of impunity. The Federal Road Safety Corps, they do not carry guns, but people respect and fear them more than the police. Why? Have the police ever try to ask, why is that so? It's about a culture of, are you properly trained? What were the demands for EndSARS? It included better welfare for the police, compensation for victims, justice, and all this. This was supposed to be the goal of the panels, but all the panels were redundant. Only Lagos, I can say, maybe achieved 10% of the reason why it was set up. The Abuja panel got packed up, and they suddenly resuscitated the panel now that we want to do EndSARS anniversary. Just 3 or 4 days to the 1-year anniversary, the Abuja panel has been resuscitated. And sometimes I pity many people who are victims of the system. For instance, my friend and my brother, Ernest Ojukwu, who is a government appointee and who is the commissioner, the National Commissioner for National Human Rights Commission. I pity him. Many times we talk, the political will is not there. And that's why Buhari, who himself was a victim of police brutality, you know, he was tear gassed in 2003 after he lost the election and he protested in Kano. His vice presidential candidate, Chuba Okadebo, was killed as a result of that police brutality. So everybody is a victim of police brutality, whether you be president, whether you be an ex-president, everybody is a victim. So the earlier the system understands, and the earlier we understand that the oppressors, they will naturally not bow until a superior force comes. And this was the importance of the EndSARS rally, you know, and the protests, that we must go beyond the paperwork. The paperwork is beautiful, the institutional framework, the legal frameworks, everything is fine. However, the language of change globally, black segregation in the US, the whole essence of the civil rights movement was ineffective until Martin Luther, people hit the street. That's why a black man can be president today. A colored woman can be vice president in the US. You can't just sit and expect people to concede your rights. You know, power, you know, concedes nothing. And power is not like an a la carte. You must make concerted effort. And that's why we decided that we had to move EndSARS to the next level. And that was why we insisted since 2017 that the only way, and EndSARS itself was a metaphor, just like what Dele said, was a metaphor. You know, if when people came to the protest venue in Lagos and Abuja, in Port Harcourt, everywhere, people were holding different banners: end hunger, end insecurity. Look at the customs today are now paying homage and ransom to bandits. Look at all over the country submerged with insecurity. So people were coming to the Abuja venues, the Lagos venues with end unemployment, end these. So SARS was a metaphor to address the frustration of the citizenry. And the basics that people were asking for is to be treated humanely, is to be treated rightly. Nigerians and Africans generally are not asking for the unthinkables. They are not asking to go to space. We are not asking for the kinetics. We are not asking for science fiction. How hard is it to respect people's fundamental human rights? People want to protest. How hard can it be for the police to just respect the inalienable rights or the right to suffrage or simple basic rights of citizens? So this is the few I can say because I need to join the other panel. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you so much, comrade, and thank you for taking out of your time to join us this evening. Whilst it has been short, it has been very enlightening, and you've definitely made some important points that I'm sure will stimulate further conversation later on in this discuss. Thank you so much. Sega, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, back over to you.
So I don't know where Comrade Deji got his metrics from in terms of the 10% of the panel, but I'm not going to respond to that yet. Not now, probably much later. So basically, we've been able to achieve a few things like the passing of the bills and the rest, and then getting the presidential assent and all. But as simple as these things may look or sound, they are very, very difficult. These are things that have never been possible in the 90 years of existence of the Nigerian police force. And for it to happen under an administration that have proven itself not to be different from the dark days of military interregnum, you should know the level of work that went into that. So it was a month after that a watershed moment happened in Igwele that actually triggered the response of the public, that despite all we are doing, despite all the sacrifices, despite all the noise, despite all the EndSARS trending and everything, police are still like this. And before that, before people decided to hit the streets, several attempts were made to get the police to put their people in order and to get things done, but nothing was actually done. They thought it was something small, and in fact, the police even made a mockery of the entire situation by calling celebrities together and doing all sorts. And then people decided to, they were really committed and they decided to hit the streets. And the rest is history. And along the line, things got, of course, we're being very mindful. If you have run an advocacy for years and it has not endangered the lives of the citizenry, the same citizenry that you were trying as much as possible to protect, you're trying as much as possible to prevent from becoming target practice and the rest of people. Of course, we're in this same country where we know that a xenophobic attack in South Africa led to looting of shops in Lekki, in Aja area. So you of the outcome of any incident. No matter how good what you're doing and no matter how good intention it is, the moment people start complaining about how that has brought in an adverse experience, you begin to hurt the same people that you seem to be fighting for. And I'll give you a small illustration. There was a woman, an old woman, who took a loan, to start a shop. She was a retiree. She took a loan to start a shop in Naija, in one of the ShopRite outlets there. And she was selling stuff. Xenophobic attack came. She was the target. They robbed her shop. They destroyed everything she had and all. She was taken to the hospital and all. Some people came around, helped her. She was recovering. And then all again, EndSARS protests came. They looted her shop all over again. And then she was back to square one. And again, tomorrow is another day. I don't know which hospital the woman is in already, anticipating yet another probably outbreak or something. But again, if you say to that woman, what is her feeling? What is her perception of and EndSARS generally? Whether you're talking about protests, whether you're talking about police brutality, whether you're talking about an advocacy, as far as she's concerned, anytime that thing sounds in her head, it traumatizes her. Because she will remember the fact that she had to go through all these things simply because of youth unrest, partly, and also secondly because of police brutality. So in a way or the other, we are all victims of police brutality and also victims of the excesses of some of us. So How do we find the common ground? How do we find what else can we do at this stage? How else can we engage in such a way that we send a clear message to government that enough is enough as far as this is concerned, and we're not going to sweep it under the rug, and we're not going to continue to hope that things will change? How can we better engage to bring about the change that we look for? Of course, my bishop, Dr. Dele Farutimi, will say that only a revolution will change this. And I will always respond, as I've always done for the past 70-something years, that revolution starts from the mind, and it starts from the change of mindset. People who have not engaged themselves, people who are not one with themselves, people who are not purposeful in their hearts cannot project anything other than the atmosphere within them. And if we do not know who we are, if we do not know why we are, if we do not know why we're coming together to do certain things, whatever it is we do as a crowd or as a mob will never bring anything fruitful. So indeed, revolution is necessary for us to have a turnaround in our general system, in our systemic problem. But again, it has to be in such a way that we will not use the same mindset that created the problem, to try to solve the problem, thereby leading us into an absolute chaos. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. All right. A lot was said there. To the other speakers on the platform, would anybody like to comment or contribute to what Sega has said?
I certainly
and follow
would.
up?
I certainly
All right.
would.
Okay.
First thing first, let me correct an error I made starting out, perhaps because of my Luddite approach that gave me the earlier difficulties. I should acknowledge the likes of Yemi, Deji, Sega, and each and every one of the persons who are auto speakers on the platform. My sincere apologies for the failure to do so earlier on. Listening to Sega, I see that there is a fundamental error that appears to be assailing the discussion, and we need to deal with it and deal with it quickly. And this error is arising from a readiness to accept responsibility for something that is patently not our fault. Who is to blame for the...
Oh dear, Dele, your network is playing games. Hello, can you hear me, Dele?
For the protest, I think it is critical that we...
Dele, can you hear me? Your network.
I can hear you.
Your network. The last thing we heard you say clearly was when you said there is something that needs to be corrected. So if your network is now cooperating, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Thank you so much. Oh, good. No, we can't. You've gone again.
The point I'm making is that we should be careful not to fall.
Oh dear. Dearie me. Okay. Dele, may I suggest you exit the app and then come back in? Usually when this happens, your network will correct itself. While we're waiting for Dele's network to sort itself out, I have a couple of questions from people in the Gulag. So Boma and Ibrahim, please bring up one person each that has back-channeled you. While we're waiting for that, anybody else on the stage want to respond to Sega?
Can you hear me?
Anifa, we can hear you.
Okay, I think interesting position by our comrade SEGALink. Whether we agree or not, even the name EndSARS somehow can be interchangeably used interchangeably used with EndSARS, as in SEGALink can replace EndSARS. But again, even an old man can be wrong. By that I mean, okay, let me put it this way. I agree totally with SEGALink that in almost all he said, but I want to respectfully disagree on the idea that our protesters are disturbing people. For God's sake, there is nothing you will do in this life that one person or the other will not suffer any one form of inconvenience or the other. In fact, even those who went out there to protest had left their business, had left their, in fact, some persons even ruined their relationship with friends, old friends, because of their position on SARS or ending while nobody is happy, it is part of it. And if we even look at what revolution stands for in this thing, in its sense, stricto sensu, of course, people will have to deprive themselves of a lot of things. So it's not justification for what Yemi did on 20th October 2020, or that it shouldn't be a justification for what state actors do. That is not to say that SEGALink is endorsing the act of what happened at Lekki Toge, but that the thinking that some persons suffer, like an old woman suffer because there was protest at Lekki Toge, business suffered. I think for me, it's neither here nor there, because even those who were at the toll gate had to leave their businesses. Some persons were entertainers, they left their jobs. Some persons ruined relationship for them to be there. So I think what I just want to say where I want to disagree with SEGALink was the argument that some persons were suffering. People, of course, there will be some persons must suffer one inconvenience or the other. So I think that's my take on what SEGALink. If you oblige me, I will equally want to have my take too on this matter, because I just have to run. I just have to leave the office. For me, the issues are more political than just an issue of ending SARS. And like some speakers have said, that SARS is just a metaphor for anything bad in the country, be it bad government, be it lack of potable water in the 21st century Nigeria. You still have, in some places in the north, the water they drink still colors, it's still muddish, and still colors orange. It's still orange in color. EndSARS is a metaphor for wrong functional system. So for me, EndSARS was asking beyond the question of just ending a particular unit of the Nigerian police force. It was asking a more fundamental political question, which is the question of failure of governance generally in Nigeria. And I say it all the time. If we can choose to pretend, we can choose to play to the gallery, that is what EndSARS is. And the ruling class understood what young people, for the first time in Nigeria, what trousers sagging young people, what dread-wearing young people, what young people that dye their hair, spray their hair with different colors, what they were able to put up together and say no to this rot in our society. They say EndSARS. And when the ruling class understood what these young persons were saying, they had to murder young people. They had to shut them up. They had to do everything humanly possible to stop that protest. And it is, for me, whatever question we want to ask should be revolving around the issues about how these young persons were rounded, issues around what about the open talks? They talked about talks being among protesters. But there are video footages, there are pictures of government-sponsored talks in Lagos and in Abuja, openly. Till today, I still have pictures of a young man, a political talk, with a cutlass-wielding young man. His pictures went viral. Government did nothing. We have people who are carried with DSS buses. We had people who are carried with government BRT buses in Lagos. In Abuja, no people caught on tape. We are seen chasing protesters. Before protesters had to reinforce. At Alausa in Lagos, the same thing. MC Olowu boys. Or boys allegedly loyal to MC Olowu. We are chasing young Nigerians who are saying end to bad governance, end to SARS. These are the questions we must ask ourselves, and we must give political answers to these questions. And we must go beyond just like ending the police unit SARS. It's just that the police unit SARS is a clear example. It's what people can connect with. It's a clear example of how rotten our country is. A country where we can hardly produce toothpick. Meanwhile, there are several trees everywhere in Nigeria. A country where we import almost all the citric fruit. We import almost all of them. From orange, all of them. We import almost everything. Meanwhile, we live in a country where you plant things 2 months, 3 months, they are all grown. Government cannot give regulations, cannot guide society, and provide and give an enabling environment where investors will invest in agriculture and provide food for our people. We live in a country where we import fish, but almost everywhere you go to, from Lagos to Port Harcourt, everywhere you go to we have more rivers than even our land. Yet we import ice fish, stacked fish that will stay 6 months, 1 year. That is what we eat in this country. We wear second-hand clothes. The clothes that sell most in Nigeria is second-hand clothes. Clothes worn by white people. White people wear. We buy pants, second-hand pants worn by other people. That is what we buy here. That's what we use here. So for me, the only solution EndSARS is to end bad government. How we are going to go about it, how we are going to mobilize ourselves towards it, I don't know. But what I know is that we must give political answer to the political question of ending SARS. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Anita, for your contribution. We really felt the passion. We really felt the passion and the frustration. And definitely you raised some thought-provoking points. Thank you so much for that. I noticed that Dele is back. So
yes, I am.
You're welcome back. Yeah. Let's allow you to finish your submission, and then we'll take questions from the audience, for which we have 4 people on the stage. So over to you, sir.
All right. The gentleman who just finished the submission did a lot to actually put across the point I was making. I caught the tail end of his point, and the point was this. I felt it was wrong for Sega to attribute I know it wasn't a direct link that he sought to make, but I do not believe that those who are involved with the protest, either as organizers or those who are on the street at any of the protest locations, up until the 28th, might possibly be blamed for the outbreak of violence that followed in the wake of the 28th. It is my firm belief that proper responsibility should be allocated to the state, both at the state in Lagos State and in Abuja, the DSS and whatever the security organizations were involved in coordinating the violence that we witnessed and saw with our own eyes. Now, the violence that followed on the 21st or immediately after the killings on the 28th, that should be laid squarely at the foot of the state. if they would orchestrate violence during the course of the protest to the sight of all Nigerians on record in broad daylight, and it is also on record, even before the Lekki panel, that there was no violence by the protesters, I think it is proper to leave the blame for the violence directly at the doorstep of the Nigerian state. This is not a blame that should be ascribed in any way, even vicariously, to those who protested only peacefully, only with their flags, never with petrol. Let the blame go to the state. It owns it. Thank you.
Sorry, can I quickly respond?
Okay.
It will be very short.
All right. Very short.
Yeah, Bishop Dele, you know I wasn't apportioning blames. And you also know that based on my current position, since I'm still trying to jailbreak myself and Timothy, where I speak for both of us, we cannot comment on that issue because it is before us. And it is not what I was referring to. I was just talking about the perception.
I withdraw that. No, let me withdraw that. It wasn't intended to cast any blame on you.
Yeah.
But it did come
I wasn't even casting any blame on anyone.
It wasn't that you were blaming people. You were taking it was almost like we were taking responsibility for something that was not even within our own control. That's what I'm saying. Don't even feel like we have to take responsibility for it. We don't. That responsibility belongs squarely to the state. It orchestrated the violence, and it was always his duty to preserve the peace.
Thank you very much. You know, I've always told you, sir, that leadership is responsibility. Even if it is not our responsibility, it is responsible to at least assuage the people and let them know that we care about them as well. Despite the fact that we are fighting for them, we're doing all these things for the entire nations of and our children unborn. You know, it's also responsible to at least, show that empathy to say, look, we believe that, going forward, we will try as much as possible to do better and even protect you from, the failure of the state. That's just what I'm saying. Not blaming anyone or not at all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Kale Baba, I can see you blinking, but if you just give me a couple of minutes, I'd like to take some comments and questions from the audience. We do want to get the audience involved. And as I have said before, for those who want to involve, please send a back channel message to the two moderators called Boma and Ibrahim. Only send a message to one of them. So pick who you want to send a message to and send a message to them. And at the appropriate time, you will be brought up. For time purposes, we will do our best to get through everybody. But if we can't, well, the conversation continues next week and in subsequent weeks. So maybe another time you'll get the opportunity to raise your question. So at this time, Bolaji, are you there, please?
Yeah. Good evening.
All right, Bolaji, please ask your question or make your comments. You have 2 minutes, please.
I don't have any questions. I just have comments to make.
All right, that's fine.
So I was part of the people that came out to protest in Abuja, and we're really active because it felt as though finally, after all these years of police brutality and extortions, we're going to just get over it and move on to other things. And it was going all good until the government decided to step in terms of sending thugs. I've been in Abuja for a lot of years, and this area is the seat of power. Thugs don't just come into the capital without the who is who knowing about it. So the violence that broke out after the protests, we all know who was responsible for it, because if I shoot a gun where I am right now, I'm sure people will come and respond, law enforcement agencies. Then we have suit-wearing people in Prado SUVs driving thugs around in broad daylight in Wuse, which is the heart of the city. So there's no need to say much about who is involved. We basically know the government has one or two things to do with it, to do about it. And it was really heartbreaking to see the Lekki toll gates massacre, because the military is war. That's what they are trained for. Tactics is warfare. So bringing the military into that in the first place isn't fair. And they were first denying that we weren't there, we were there, the governor called us in. And my major problem is, why were you there in the first place? We have other issues going on in the country that need your attention. If the police was well structured, we would have an elite riot response unit that would respond to that issue. But it's part of what we're talking about with EndSARS. Things need to be reformed. If you start reading, you'll see the police right from time. All they know how to do is to oppress citizens. We're talking pre-colonial times. For the white people, they oppress their brothers, as we fellow Nigerians. For the colonial masters, that's their training. That's their orientation. So basically, at this point, I won't say I've given up, but what we need right now is just a total reorientation, because the whole reforming police, I don't think these people can be reformed. I think we need to go into every structure in the country, because police, all they know how to do is to serve the political class. If you're in this city and the political office holder is passing, the policeman just wants you to die so the person can pass. So that's all they know. So the problem is deep-rooted. I'm just speaking on police. I don't even want to talk about the army, who is responsible for the massacre of, we don't even know how many people, but a lot of people. We're talking institutional decay across all sectors. We have mass exodus of young people because everybody has given up. The one time we tried to speak up, we're met to bullet. So really, it's not encouraging. Thank you very much. That's my contribution.
So much. Thank you so much, Bolaji, for your contribution. Thank you very much. All right. Ugo, are you there, please?
Yeah, I'm here.
Ugo, please, is it a question or a contribution?
A contribution.
All right, Ugo, 2 minutes, please. Let's stick to time. I've got over 50 people in the back channel.
Okay, thank you. First off, I want to appreciate all the speakers here. I live in Port Harcourt, and I can remember when they called for that of Port Harcourt. I think it was on a Tuesday or so. K.O. Baba was directing then. I work for the government, Rivers State government, and we championed the whole process up to a day before the protest. And then that day, we got communication that we was to decimate myself, that the government had placed a halt on such protest. But we came out regardless. In fact, I knew when I was battling with my conscience, and that me and my colleague, we came out believing that if we were losing our job, that so be it, because we couldn't live with our conscience. And luckily, the governor came out and addressed us. And the commissioner I worked with told us that, he noticed that he saw our people there. And initially, the opinion the governor thought was that it was to be hijacked by opposition. Now, this is the conviction most of us have for this protest. If there is one thing that this protests have taught us, is that there is actually a possibility where Nigerian youth find synchronism, find alliance, and speak, where all the things that divides us disappears. Now, if you study universal laws and the dynamics of the universe, you know that the universe has rhythm. And at a particular point in time, the elements sort of aligns. And I think that one thing we should do, one of our strategy going forward, is try to consciously determine what are these aligning forces for us. We are one of the most unique nations that have so many things that could divide us. The political class divides us in terms of age, ethnicity, religion, and all that. But if we're able to find that perfect reading, like we did in EndSARS, we're going to make it very. And one easiest way in protests around the world is mostly they have a face or a leader or a passionate leader. And it's very difficult to come by around here. So if there's a takeoff, lastly, is that I would appreciate that while we discuss here, we should ask ourselves the questions: what was the dynamics? What made people find that alliance beyond political lines, ethnicity, and what have you? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ugo. Interesting point made there. What made people find unity across political and social divisional lines? Thank you so much for that. Tommy, are you there, please? Or Tomi, are you there, please?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Is it a question or a contribution?
Yes, a contribution, ma'am.
2 minutes, please.
All right, ma'am. Wow. First of all, I want to speak from the perspective of people with disabilities, and I don't know about other people, but I would say that the day before October 20th, I was already mobilizing people with disabilities, specifically people with visual impairment. And I am so happy that we didn't go out, because it will have been on me. I took it up to myself, raised funds, already had plans to, feed them. But just like what most of our moderators and these amazing people on stage, which I'm privileged to be on stage with, have said, it's a deeper problem more than the EndSARS. People with disabilities are facing a lot in countries like the Western countries and all of these advanced countries. There's always something for a person with disabilities, but here, you are left to fend for yourself most times. But I would say this, that may Nigeria never happened to any one of us. May Nigeria never happen to those of us who are family members here. Nigeria happened to me, and that was why I was passionate about voicing out. But again, thank God that we didn't come out, because only God knows what would have happened to people with disabilities. I know of a friend of mine who wore the shirt Buhari must go. Not a friend per se, but also a person with disability. This news was on Sara News. I was devastated that why would they take a person who is blind and you deal with that person mercilessly? And I'm like, where is the love in this government? Where's the heart of humanity? I lost my sight last 2 years to an armed robbery attack. If only the policemen were doing their jobs in a better way, not focusing on somebody who has a dreadlock or somebody who is looking nice, and focus more on those people and how they can get money for those people. Get money from those people, instead of them doing their job, protecting people. Many wouldn't have ended up like myself. I'm lucky to be alive. I was shot at the face. Why? Because the government didn't set the right security in place. And right now, I live my life with that experience. I am in Nigeria, facing the problem of Nigeria, being a blind person after 27 years of my life. And that's why I was passionate about bringing people with disabilities out there, because when I became a blind person, I knew what it meant, and I knew what people here were going through, not being included in most things, especially most activities. But God knows why I didn't bring them out. It will have been on me. But I'll just submit it this way as I drop my mic. You see, it's hard what happened to people, and when I could hear, I couldn't watch, but I could hear. And even the blind can see what is happening in this country. Even the deaf can hear. Or somebody with disability who were passionate, people on wheelchair, people who are deaf and dumb were passionate about coming outside. But this is the Nigeria that we find ourselves. And I will say this again as I drop my submission. Nigeria happened to me. Some may not be alive. Many have died this way because of this security problem. When they are supposed to be doing their jobs, they rather go for young guys with laptops or having a phone on your hand. If not that I'm a blind person, I've been stopped on the way before, but because I look good in the car or my Uber car, they stop me and I show them my eyes, they realize I'm blind. Several times they stop me like that. Many will not end up like that. I listen to radio almost all the time because I'm a blind person. But I'll end my submission this way. May Nigeria never happen to any of us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Wow. Wow. That was a very heartfelt and very powerful submission. I'm sorry that you went through what you did, but I'm grateful that you have a deeper insight and you have been able to come through it. So well done to you for that. very powerful submission. Iman, are you there, please?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Just give me 1 minute so I can explain to the speakers what's happening. So what's happening is I'm going to take all the contributions from the audience currently on stage. As I explained, they're coming up in batches. And then you'll be able to respond to their contributions or questions in batches in the same way. Iman, are you there, please?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh,
please.
fantastic, fantastic.
All right. Question or contribution?
This is a contribution.
All right. Keep it to 2 minutes, please.
I will try my level best to do that.
Thank you very much.
I remember the night when the shooting began. I got the phone call and I could hear the shooting in the background of that phone call. It wasn't something I watched on Instagram by DJ Switch, a very courageous individual who should be given a lot of flowers and grace. As I heard those gunshots, I knew this was the end of EndSARS. And I think everybody, or most people, knew it was the end game. It was the end game. We cannot blame the people who stood there waving their flags and singing the national anthem. But yet, the Nigerian soldiers shot at Nigerian citizens who simply went out to exercise their right to protest. And I think, you know, that night, I don't think I wasn't myself for at least 2 weeks. I wasn't myself, you know. That was the first night I realized, even as a man, you know, I know we have this a man shouldn't cry kind of thing, but that night I shed tears and I it just couldn't stop, because I felt like if I saw those soldiers, I myself would want to take my hands, my bare hands, and put it on their necks and ensure that they are suffocated and they do not have air to breathe. Why do I say that? No Nigerian soldier, no Nigerian police officer has the right, because of your state monopoly on violence, to shoot at any innocent Nigerian. And this is the point that these kleptomaniacs, these inept individuals we call political leaders, need to understand. Because their day is coming. They may think that Nigerians are uludus, that, you know, we're so scared we will never react. But they should be remembering the day that those you denied rights for 61 years, times 365 days, which is 22,265 days of independence. You deny them rights every year. You kill them with abandon. You make no excuses or apologies. There is never any apology or justice done. What you have is a system which decides, go to court and prove it. Open an inquiry and prove it. I don't need an inquiry to do that. We saw the serial marks on those bullets that were fired. They were traced back to where those bullets were bought in Eastern Europe. In Eastern Europe. So people that come when they speak about EndSARS and they make such insensitive comments that we have heard today. There are some that are so insensitive, but out of respect as a Yoruba man and having respect for your elders, I'm not going to repeat those things. But I think, let us understand something. Just because you understand EndSARS and the government that you interact with from the lens of the eyes that you have, doesn't mean every Nigerian must see the situation the way you do. If the people in power are the same people who instituted the 1967 coup of Nigeria, the pogroms in Nigeria, the killings during the Nigerian Civil War against the Biafran people, against Igbo people, if those are the people that are still in power today, including Buhari, Muhammadu Buhari, people like T.Y. Danjuma, Gowon, these people are still alive. When justice is never done, and justice is never seen to be done, never ever question the ability or the right of young Nigerians in the 21st century today to question their elders and what they constantly tell us to do. I went to primary school, they said, pray, Nigeria will be better. I went to secondary school, they said, pray, Nigeria will be better. I went to university, it was the same mantra. We are now in 2021. Things cannot go on the way they are. Nigeria stands at a precipice, and I think it is time for our intellectuals and those who like to speak to us as though we do not know what is happening, simply by virtue of their training or by virtue of who they are, that every human being in Nigeria on the hierarchy of humanity is equal, and Nigerians must have their say. Nigerians are fed up and they've had enough of the generation that descended us to this point where our destinies are curtailed by people who do not understand that now Nigerians are at the bottom of that barrel. And people like to tell us, just go through the political system, elect the right leaders, just engage with the courts, engage with the police. Please excuse me for my tone today, but I think we need to speak truth to reality, because only then can our reality set us free. Stop gaslighting Nigerians. Stop it. It is unfair and it is unconscionable for people to do that. And before anyone says that we are speaking out of emotion or speaking out of anger, we have a right to that anger and emotion, and no one, whether you're 70, you are 60, you are 50, you are 40, you are 30, you have no right to tell those who suffer under these indignities and under this same system how they should feel. The victims have nothing to do with the Nigerian government shooting live bullets at Lekki, Tollgate, and other parts of Nigeria. Do not blame the victims, because you cannot intellectualize that argument. And on that basis, I'm just saying, Nigerians have a right to react as they see fit. No one should gaslight them. It is simply because we have allowed these leaders to continue to think that we are Olodos. So therefore, they think we will continue to allow them to do what they're doing. And that includes the older generation of Nigerians that we have in Nigeria. And on that basis, may the souls of those who parted rest in eternal peace. I yield my mic.
Thank you so much, Iman. Thank you so much for that. What can I don't even know how to summarize everything that you've said. But what you've said is true. You can't judge someone on their experience. It's only the person that experienced it that understands how they did so. And that is very true. Thank you so much for that. The last speaker from the audience for this particular section will be Osigwe. Osigwe, are you there, please?
Yes, I am. Am I audible enough?
You are loud and clear. Is it a question or a contribution?
Both.
Both. All right. Please start with your contribution and end with your question. You have 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dami. Thank you, great moderator. Thank you, our guests. And thank you, everyone that has created opportunity the chance to listen and contribute. And thank you, Ima, for that wonderful submission. I want to quickly say that today we're actually having a conversation about EndSARS and all that. And somebody asked a question: who made that call that actually brought the Nigerian army to Lekki Tollgate? And this was my response to that question. I said, it is the President Muhammadu Buhari, that makes that call. President Muhammadu Buhari is responsible for the lives and the property that was destroyed on the day that the issue happened. And let me quickly say this. I don't really want to talk more. I think it is time for us to, I'm talking to Saga, I'm talking to Sowore, I'm talking to Dele. I think it is time for us to reform ourselves. It is time for us to create more awareness. It is time for us to change our mindset. It is time for us to redefine a vision for Nigeria. So I think what will be our take home after this entire conversation and enlightenment? I think we need to do more. 2023 is close, but to me, there is a lot we can still achieve if we understand. I'm going to ask my brother Dele, who I respect so much, a direct question. I can still remember the last room we had. You actually talk about, if I'm not misquoting you, you say we should boycott 2023. For you, you prefer we boycott the election, protest and revolution and all that. But looking at the electoral reform and the Senate just passing into law, waiting for the president to accede to it, about transmission of result, electoral voting, and party having primaries. I want to know if you still stand on that boycotting and revolution now. And the same question to Sowore. But I believe that it is time for us to create awareness, change our attitude, reform the system by having the mindset, or with a clear vision. We need to understand that history matters, but vision matters most. So we need to have a clear vision that every Nigeria will key into. And let us not be selfish about it. Let us focus on securing this country first before we can talk about who will lead. Thank you very much. God bless Nigeria and God bless everyone.
Thank you so much, Osigwe. So I noted that you had a direct question for Dele, and I will give Dele the opportunity to respond very shortly. Just for some messages that have come through to me, make it very clear. Please do not send me back channel messages. I will not be attending to them. Send the back channel messages to Boma and to Ibrahim. Send back channel messages to Boma and Ibrahim. Thank you very much. They are dealing with speakers from the audience who have something to say. However, this one is interesting, and I think it will help us move this conversation on. And I'm just going to read it. There is no name attached to this one. That is, it comes through anonymously. These conversations are not empowering. They just highlight our victimhood, and it's of no use. Of what use is saying Nigeria should not happen to anyone, or that there was a massacre? Nice to know, but then how does it help us going forward? We are looking at the protests with fond nostalgia, but neglecting to evaluate all we did wrong. These grievances would solve nothing. So that's a food for thought right there. These grievances would solve nothing. So I'm quickly going to give the floor open to the speakers, and I'm aware that Sega will be leaving us soon. I can see Roy blinking also. Roy, I'm hoping you'll be with us for a little bit longer. And any other, I know Keo Baba has also been very eager to say something. However, Sega will be leaving us within the next 4 or 5 minutes. So please indulge me once again to allow him to respond to things that have been said, and to also talk about the way forward in his opinion. There is also a question that has come through regarding the outcome from the panel. Whilst you said you're unable to speak to it as it has not been released, a question is raised as to when as to when it will be released. It has been over a year and nothing is forthcoming. Is it expected for people to just forget about it or to just move on? That is the question. So, Sega, I will allow you to contribute or respond to anything that has been said by any people from the audience, as well as answer these two questions and your final submissions before you take your leave. Are you there, please?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I must commend everyone that took out time to listen to this and hear us speak and also contribute to this discourse. EndSARS, from Police NG, EndSARS, the protest, is all our responsibility. It's something that we're proud of. It's something that we support. It's something that we give, our all to. Not just the drama or the excitement or the entertainment, but basically what it stands for and basically what we wanted to solve, the objective of it, to stamp out impunity in our society and mostly to reform holistically our institutions, to bridge the gap between the leadership and the led, to bridge the gap between the town and the gown, to create a platform through which our youth can find expression, in order to contribute their own little quota to nation building. This is what this is about. And we appreciate the ownership. We appreciate the leadership example of a lot of people who are here and those who are not even here. And I just want to say that from the feedback gotten from the representatives of the parties before the panel, you can see that the panel has done all that it can within the ambit of time given to it to look into the cases, to look into all the petitions before it, and to do justice to them. And I believe in due course, probably before the middle of November or so, the government will release a statement as per the content of the report of the panel. I really wouldn't want to go into too much details, but the valedictory sitting was just yesterday. Normally, according to the constitution of the country, if the Supreme Court, for instance, have its last sitting to date, it is given by law 3 months to prepare its judgment. But in our case, we're not going to spend 3 months. We believe that in between now and the middle of November or the first 2 weeks of November, the government should be notifying the public about the outcome of the panel. And I believe that it is something that we'll all be proud of. If you watch the live broadcast of the public hearing, you will feel I can't speak to anything directly on the panel, but I want you to take a leaf from the response of the Council of the EndSARS protesters, or the council and several other councils and respondents, that were before the panel on their closing remarks yesterday, and you will get a feel of how their experience, before the panel in the past 1 year. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Sega, for answering that question and for your light contribution. And thank you very much for joining us this evening. It is greatly appreciated. Yes, sorry about that. It is greatly appreciated. So, I do. Yes, please. Who called me?
Can I say something?
Yes, you can, please, sir.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you. A wonderful section so far. A lot. We're talking about a lot. Let me say. You read somebody's contribution. Talking about these grievances will take us nowhere. But I want to mention, if we stop getting angry about what is happening, we won't do anything. So let me correct that. I've heard a lot of people saying that, and sometimes I read a lot of comments on Facebook. Let me make an instance. Maybe you go to Prince Deji's page, you see a lot of people venting, and you know that it's because of political sentiment. They are on the other side of the divide. They are not comfortable with what is happening. So when we try to raise our concerns, They will tell you what's all these grievances. But let me pick out something from what the person said. What's our way forward? And that's what I want to talk about. Now, there's this culture of fear that the government is trying to sell. Culture of fear. They don't want to see us talk. They want to make us, they want to criminalize protests. They want to do everything possible to make sure that we are suffering and smiling. And just like we're saying, we will not be silent. Well, if we lost our voice, we've lost our power. We've even lost the will that we need to push them to begin to have political will to bring change. So I want to mention this. They are doing so much to sell fear. And sadly, a lot of people are buying into it. And we want to encourage people that are listening to me. I want to encourage people that are listening to me now. Please do not be part of those giving in, part of those who are allowing the government to sell fear. That's why I love Sowore so much. And we pray to have people who can walk through the valley of the shadow of death and they are still asking for a better Nigeria. That's what we need to tell people, please. Because what happened on the 20th was they succeeded. They spread that fear so much and young people were not willing to come out. Even some people were not even willing to post on social media. Some people were scared. If you even talk on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram, what's going to happen? They will pick you up. They will accuse you of being part of those that were vandalizing or doing. And we need to be very conscious. When they sell fear, those of us that are still willing to talk should try as much as possible to sell hope. To try as much as possible to tell these people we need to keep speaking. That's number one. Number two, this is my concern. We also have cases going forward. We have poor documentation. A lot of things happen during this EndSARS. And you see these people. Sadly, I noticed some influencers are taking money from the government. They are reading stories like 22 policemen died. They are sounding as if we didn't lose people. Young people didn't die. Stray bullet didn't kill people. They are acting as if with this, they are not talking about the things the government were doing to destroy the effort we're making to end brutality. We're not protesting for anything. We're saying end police brutality, end bad governance. It is the job of my House of Rep member, my senator, my governor, my even people from the local government and the state, people from those different levels of government, it's their job to even tell police end brutality. Incompetence and their willingness to do their job, they pretended as if they are not saying that. There was social media. People were uploading police brutality. People were uploading where they were being maltreated, extorted every day. The men who had this job would be elected into power. We're not doing anything about it. They were not talking about it. They were not even concerned. So it was a case of the young people, youth, citizens, civilians doing the government job by asking police to end brutality. And today, they are getting more organized. They are documenting their side of the story. And we've not created a setup to document our story. So that's why they can tell you nobody died at Loki Toll Gate. And we know people die and nobody is taking that job. One who lost life at Loki Toll Gate, one who lost life in the course of the EndSARS protest. And we document this very well and we put it out. Tomorrow when we're marking it, there should be pictures. There should be a lot of things going on. We were in a panel earlier today in Port Harcourt when we were doing and I said something, we're even being lenient, we're even being too soft. We are not even asking as much as we should ask. 1 week to 20th of January, we should be talking, we should have intensified what we're asking for, but we are not doing that. My number 3 concern, why I'm worried about, Uncle Dele did not respond. Somebody said we should not boycott 2023 election. We should not. My opinion, when people raise this, is different. Instead, I tell people, get your PVC. We say the vote will not count. And I ask, if we boycott the election and allow only them to do the election, the finished election, what happens? Would they say, because this number of Nigerians did not participate, the election will not count? And I know this is Nigeria, that will not happen. So I tell young people, get your PVC. Your vote may count. At least we're fighting, we're making our case for electoral reforms, electronic transmission of vote. What we should be asking for now while we speak against bad governance, we should encourage people to get their PVC. We should hit them hard, hit our National Assembly to make sure there is electoral reforms. That's how I see it, because when we begin to appoint credible leaders, party will make sure that primaries are having men of integrity, men that are credible enough to lead us. But when we don't get involved, we allow them have their merry-go-round and they leave us in this mess. The last thing I'm going to say, because of time, and it's very, very important for me as a person, I think that it's sad that even after we finish the EndSARS, that there are people who were part of the protest that are still in cell, that are still under custody of the Nigerian police, and they are not getting enough support to come out. What happens in cases like that is, if they have a friend or a neighbor, in case of, I tell I'm making no go. No, I no go. What of this person? When we have protests of this magnitude, it has happened over time. When they arrested some persons in Abuja, we saw how Sowore and some persons took it upon themselves to make sure they are released. And that's what should happen every time we do a protest like this. People at the forefront, people are being picked up. We should not allow them to rot in jail. We should help them, get lawyers, do everything possible that when we finish EndSARS protest, 1 year after some people were carried and they're still in cell, it has a way of demotivating others that want to be part of the protest. In Port Harcourt, NFR and the people from the civil society and a few of us, we don't let that happen. We speak and make sure these people are released. That should be something that will happen in every state, every time. It will build the confidence of young people that they will speak. If they pick people up tomorrow when we're trying to make our case, they should not sleep there. We have lawyers enough that can speak and make sure they come out free. These are my submissions. God bless you.
Okay.
When you have time, I'm there and I would love to respond, please.
Yes, sir, you will. You will. Just give me 1 minute, please. Dr. Yemi, are you there, please?
Yes, I am here.
You have been incredibly patient. Please, your submission, sir, to the comments, to the questions, contributions, and the likes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thankfully, there seems to be a little bit of the table left that hasn't completely been shaken or broken to pieces. So I'm just going to leave a thought with us. It's been quite intriguing listening to the different comments and submissions. And one thing is very evident is that there is a lot of passion, and rightly so, regarding this particular moment in our history. And some things have been said that have been extremely critical. And there's some things that might have, flown under the radar, but are just as nuanced and important. As parents, one of the most difficult things that we wrestle with, and I think it's more of a subconscious thing, is the preservation of the innocence of our children. We don't want our children to know exactly how the world works because we want to protect them from harm. We want to protect them from disappointment. And in many ways, I saw the tragedy of October 20th as the robbing or the loss of the innocence of my children's generation. And it is such a tragic occurrence, and there aren't enough words to adequately describe the pain. But be that as it may, it's important for us to take a look at the lessons, the learnings, and also the things that the EndSARS protest brought to light. one of the conversations that I've had with Sega often is that protest is a blunt instrument. It's an instrument of force, of confrontation. And it definitely has its place in bringing about change, but it is not the only instrument that is required to bring about change. Protest is an attention grabber. It's a way of bringing to light rapidly. But many times, because of the disparate voices that are involved in the process, once the loud noise has been sounded and everybody's attention is grabbed, a much more refined tool is required to bring about real change. And if there's anything that I think we have learned, it is one, the voice of this generation that asks for forgiveness rather than permission is very loud, very strong, very powerful, and very needed. I don't think in recent memory there has been any groundswell of passion, emotion, and force that has troubled the leadership to the degree that it has. And that brings a highlight to a second issue that is worth noting, and that is the illusion that one is dealing with an entity that can be reasoned with and can be negotiated with, and that we can bring about sound principles of humanity. I think that illusion has been dispelled. But rather than bring about despair, as sometimes you hear in conversations like this, I think more than it should bring about a more calculated resolve, because that is what is needed for us to move forward. Now, somebody very early in the discourse said very succinctly that the EndSARS is not about ending police brutality in and of itself. It's about fighting a political battle. And when Sega and I had these conversations, one of the things I said to him is that we need to see EndSARS not as a protest against police brutality, but as a lever that can be pulled, a thread, if you would, that can be pulled at in order to begin to unravel the real issues that deal or that we suffer from as a country. Because this needs to have a lot of light shone on it so that the passion can begin to have direction. When we think about the politics and we think about the numbers and we think about EndSARS and the numbers, it's important to note that the current administration was voted into power with less than 20% of the registered voters for Nigeria. I think it's about 18% or so that the incumbent won, and I think the runner-up about 13%. That is a paltry number. The difficulty of getting into the election process is not without reason. These are realities. And most times when we talk about change, we tend to think first and foremost about executive power and changing executive power, governors and presidents and the people that, make the headlines. We tend to overlook the reality that change, first and foremost, must be legislative and it must be judicial. This is where strategy comes in. A protest is only as good as the attention it can bring to needed legislative change. And I think that when we have seen how effective the protest can be, but we have also seen the reflex, somewhat anticipated response of executive power, it's important for us to note that that impact has its place and can be wielded with a lot more effectiveness when we match it with the political nous of how to actually bring about change. So when I think back at the happenings of October 20th, 2020, I think to myself, it was a hard lesson that came at a high price, but a valuable one nonetheless. Our children are no longer innocent. Our weapons have been proven to be effective. What we need to begin to do now is discover the strategies that we can play collectively to begin to move as a unit, as we have shown, where personal interest can be put aside or postponed for the greater good of the Nigerian individual. Fighting collectively for the one is something that if we can learn to do and harness the passion that has been so eloquently voiced by many different submissions and contributors, I really do think that we will find ourselves in a much better place sooner than later.
Yes.
When oppression has become normalized, as it has been in our country, it takes something definitive, something extraordinary to get it to budge and begin to move. It's not going to be an easy day in the park to change the mindset that makes it normal for somebody who can barely feed himself to have access to weapons of destruction to use with impunity. This is the normalization of the abnormal that we've become used to. So when voices begin to speak against it, they're looked at with ridicule, with outrage. How dare you? But the truth is, we dare because we are Nigerians. And if we do not dare, then who will dare on our behalf? We can do this, but we just have to be a lot more strategic, a lot more knowledgeable about the systems that run the country and completely disabused of the delusion that the people in leadership care about what we care about, and therefore can be appealed to the better angels for them to do the right thing. I don't think those better angels exist. So yes, it was a tragedy, but as a song from one musical that was shot many years ago, from the ashes of disaster grow the roses of success. I'm a Nigerian. I believe in Nigeria. This is the only legitimate country that I have. And I believe that if we work together, we can make definitive change. That's my submission.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yemi, for that submission. Thank you very much for that. From the ashes, roses. What a lovely analogy. Thank you so much for that. Sowore, are you there, please? All right. I don't think he's with.
I'm here.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for your patience. Kindly respond or contribute, as the case may be, to the discussions on ground. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to assume that he was part of a lot of this conversation because, as I mentioned to you, because of the activities of tomorrow, I was going to be off and on. But I must take particular notice of the submission of a young man named Omar. Was it Omar or Boma? When I returned back, and such a passionate conversation about where we are, that we have become completely victimized. And I disagree with those who keep saying that we have not offered solutions enough. Where we are is a situation of perpetual oppression, suppression, incarceration, abuse. And to say that these problems by themselves, as they express, in our injuries around this country, are not enough to be discussed, is to be completely dishonest or blindsided. And I also don't agree with those who continue to push the agenda that without preserving the dignity of the Nigerian person, we should just rush to another human social experiment that they use on us to make us forget our problems very quickly. Such things as elections, because I hear that a lot, Why don't you just shut up now? Forget all your problems. Go clean your wounds. It's election time. If you lose, you lose. If you win, let's hope we win. But we know, having done elections since elections started in this country, that elections are never credible. The election. And they won't be credible now because there's no sign that we'll have credible elections. So it is the reason why I think it was about Einstein that said it, that it doesn't make sense to keep, making the same mistakes over.
Sorry, your network, unless you're getting a call coming through, but your network, sir?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, yes.
Yes. As somebody earlier mentioned, I think people have become so victimized. We have also conditioned ourselves to accepting that this is in order to be victims of power or those in authority perpetually in our lives. But we must dig ourselves out of that situation. And that is what, in my view, and that's what Judge Enefa was saying from Port Harcourt, that a lot of people don't understand even some of the most brilliant people that I've spoken with or spoken to don't understand that EndSARS is not about police brutality. It is a generation to reject institutional abuse, generational abuse. They are rejecting it on behalf of themselves. They are rejecting it on behalf of a generation that is yet to come. They are repudiating it on behalf of 2 other generations that have disappointed and let them down. Those in their 60s now and those of us in our 50s. And from time to time, because of little education we have, exposure some of us have, we consistently talk over people, sometimes insultingly, by saying that they don't understand the system they found themselves. Who doesn't understand the system of oppression? Who doesn't understand hunger, starvation? Who doesn't understand deprivation? Because these things are inherently a natural way of treating human beings. You don't need to go to school to know that you need food, you need good water, you need good roads. No, don't let anybody ever their country. They do. That's exactly why even some of the most insensitive Nigerians would fight and lose their lives to make sure that they don't continue in this condition that they found themselves or they were put in. And that's why this generation, regardless of what you thought about them, found their voice in 2020. Do you know why? It's been 20 years that they were given something they called a democracy that was being run by morons. And they found out that the morons who were putting on nice clothes were not as smart as them who were sagging their pants. Because those morons in nice clothes have to steal and they still can't even maintain companies. They can't do anything right. They have no access to anything, no access to education, no access to scholarship, no access to healthcare, no access to good roads, just raw courage and talent, and they have been able to dig themselves out of poverty. And every day they still have to deal with the same morons making laws for them, running their lives to the ground on a daily basis. And they said enough is enough in 2020. And people are saying, oh, it's about police brutality. No, police is just the symbol of, derision. They had the VIP protection unit that you see that makes you upset. Anybody approaching police in this country already has a mindset, like if you could just squeeze this policeman before you even get to him, because he's going to do the same thing to you all the time. Anybody talking about police brutality here, I was mentioning that I joined Sega in 2017. The reason why I joined Sega in 2017 was because I had been manhandled, tortured at the SARS facility in 1998 at Ikeja, where the headquarters of the Kenya police is today. It is still there, where we were kept together with thousands of people in a cell and had to be sodomized overnight, practically in an arrangement they call, I'm sorry to use the word, fokalaja. And everybody in the room had injuries, having been shot after they were arrested by the police. So I knew about police brutality. After EndSARS, I am probably the only person that has scars talking to you here from police brutality. My nose was broken. A policewoman shot me in this Abuja, and people didn't even, some people said I lied about it. So the brutality is all over, it's still all around us. As we speak, they are threatening that we have no rights to express ourselves tomorrow. In Lagos and several other places, policemen are threatening that nobody has a right to engage in street protests. It's not even a constitutional right. It's a fundamental human right. It comes with your existence to protest. So the issue here, ladies and gentlemen, and I will yield my mic at this point, is people should understand practically that is either we are living in the past or we are willing to join the trend that is seen beyond now. And beyond now is that people have seen through all these charades that people are couching in, niceties. They know that elections will not work, whether it is 2023 or 20 whatever, because this present crop of people you have will never allow elections to empower you. What they're interested in is empowering youth. Empowerment of youth in Nigeria is You take you take everything that belongs to the youth and you give them candies back from time to time. And when they shout, you give them more entertainment and more entertainment. And when they're tired and they shout more, you ask the police to shoot them and kill them. That is what is available. That's what is left. Nothing else is left. And the generation has come that must liberate itself. And I'm somehow, even though I have concerns about how this generation has handled itself, but I believe that this is the liberation generation that is here because they have found their voice, and in some ways, they have tasted power, and they've seen that it could work. What we should do, those of us who have a little bit of intellect, who have our voice, who have influence, is to keep stoking this fire until that liberation is finally and permanently achieved in our space. When I say our space, it may be in the country called Nigeria, or it may be in a rebranded space, it may be in a bigger space, it may be in a smaller space. But what the people in my circle, in this space, are asking for is freedom, and let it ring. Thank you, and I yield for the night.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for that. You've mentioned some very important things there, and we can't discount the experiences that have happened. I'm going to quickly refresh, and then we'll take Dele as Dele has to go. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Surge, the Political Matters show for the White House family. If you are not following the house, kindly click the little green house icon and become a member. These are the type of conversations we have here, and we have many others every day of the week on different areas of life. Also, kindly follow the mods and all the speakers on stage. The mods are those with the little green icon. Follow the mods because each mod hosts their own show, and they will be able to ping you in to participate. Follow the speakers because these are very important to the new Nigeria discussions. Do well to also follow us on our Instagram and Twitter pages at the White House family. And also throughout this conversation, there have been tweets, hashtag White House family, the EndSARS Memorial, and EndSARS After Effects. So feel free to follow the conversation on Twitter and Instagram also. The topic A is EndSARS 1 year on, setting the record straight and the way forward. And we are 2.5 hours into our discussion, and it has been a great one with lots of insights from various speakers over the course of the evening. Dele, sir, Mr. Dele, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much for your patience. I know I've kept you longer. I do apologize. Please, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. First thing first, I must salute Yele's courage and his consistency. And I thank him for having touched on the question that was asked. And that's the question that relates specifically to the 2023 elections. That question is also tied to the subject we are discussing. In a way, I'll try and make the connection, and I'll try to be as short as I can be. It is my belief that nothing would change in Nigeria if all we did in 2023 is have personnel changes. I do not believe that changing the persons who occupy the offices that have been created under the 1999 Constitution and that would administer the governance systems created thereunder would make any difference to the fact that Nigeria is essentially structured to work the way it is working. I do not doubt the fact that there are several altruistic men and women who believe that they might be able, by sheer force of their own personal convictions and courage, change Nigeria if they gain office. But I do not believe that anyone or group of persons can make those changes if the governance systems are not changed. Now, having said this, let me also quickly confess that I am getting to the point in my life where I'm beginning to understand that I can no longer be the Lone Ranger. Lone Ranger even had Tonto, so he didn't walk alone, even though he was so-called Lone Ranger. So I'm learning that other people have opinions that might be able to convince me to change the position that I have taken. And I also know that I know greed is not an alternative model for governance, and it is not an idea for progress. It is not sufficient to simply say that we know greed. We must have an alternative idea that we are willing to place on the table. If you listen to what Yele said, you will notice that even though Yele has a political party and he was a candidate in the last election, even Yele is not convinced that there is a political path forward. That is not to say that these might not change. There are several ongoing consultations. But from where I am sat at this moment, this might change. But all the people I'm speaking with, the organizations to which I belong to, we don't see a way forward, and we don't want to be trapped into normalizing an insanity by joining the lie that would suggest that changing the persons in the offices would change anything. If anything, a more intelligent person in the office of the president in Nigeria, given the same unconscionable powers that you have in the 1999 Constitution, would only guarantee a bigger mess. Now, this dovetails into the concluding part of my submission tonight, and which is that if we are saying that a sustenance of the system by elections in 2023 would not effect any change, if we have also said that protests would almost always end the way the EndSARS protest ended, what are we then canceling? Are we saying we should fold our hands and sit down? No. All we are saying is that there are lessons to be learned from what was done to make the EndSARS protest as successful as it became, that it now became a threat to the state, and the state saw it as a revolution because they were no longer treating it as a protest. That was why they murdered those they murdered and set about the task of causing chaos all over town in order to turn around and blame it on the peaceful protesters of EndSARS. So yes, we have lessons to learn. One of those lessons is to understand that you do not protest against an unjust system. It will not hear you. You organize to end unjust systems. EndSARS has shown us that it can be done peacefully because the only violence that came were the ones sponsored by the state. If we change our mindset to understand that you cannot vote your way out of this, we can then synergize, cooperate better than we have done, work across channels with our own clear agenda for change. Because there is nothing in need for the system, so the system will not work for change. Working for change means that they are ending their space at the gravy tray, and they will never do that. So if we want change, it is up to us to organize, understanding that protest will not bring change, and the difference between anarchy and a revolution is the presence of a plan. So the brilliant human beings whom I have listened to tonight, from Dr. Yemi Amusan, who I know to be one of the most analytical minds I know I've ever come across, a brilliant mind who can plan and sow seeds here ahead. We should all sit down and plan, but plan understanding the nature of the evil that you have to confront. This is not a pro-democracy struggle, it's a liberation struggle. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It is a liberation struggle. It is a liberation struggle. All right. So we're going to listen to a contribution in form of a message from Poetic Nerd. Poetic Nerd, are you there, please? Poetic, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Please, your contribution, your submission. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Onoto Kabiru. I'm a writer and a poet. So this is a poem titled The 12th Night. Here it goes. It's been 12 minutes since I picked up my pen. It's been 12 minutes since I picked up my pen. 12 minutes of silence and no motion from my pen. 12 months since the 12th night of our struggle, 12 days and 12 nights. For 12 days and 12 nights, we slept on the streets cold. For 12 days and 12 nights, we made our voices heard. For 12 days and 12 nights, we gave the corrupt nightmares. For 12 days and 12 nights, we made the world hear our cries. For 12 days and 12 nights, we reminded them of our strength in unity, speaking in one voice, our hearts synchronized, televised, pressurized, our truth falsified, intimidated, but our hearts never tenderized. What happened to our brothers and sisters swallowed by their own motherland? The same motherland we struggled for, the same motherland we bleed for. This was all we were asking. Was it wrong to demand for accountability? Was it wrong to speak up against tyranny? 12 days and 12 nights. After sweat came blood on the 12th night. After crying out came tears on the 12th night. Every time I close my eyes, I see the green, white, green covered in blood. The Nigerian flag stained by the blood of its own citizen, all because it became a crime to express criticism. These bloodsheds will never be in vain. These bloodsheds has ushered in the rain of change. Let this rain flow and wash away iniquity. Let this rain flow and wash away impunity. Let this blood flow and wash away cruelty. Let this blood flow and wash away tyranny. Let this blood flow and wash away oppression. May we never forget the sacrifices of the 12th night. May we always remember the impact of the 12th night. May the memories of our heroes live in our hearts forever. May their bravery forever be a source of our strength. Yes, we love to color our hairs. Yes, we love to braid our hairs. Yes, we love nice things and drive luxurious cars because we worked hard for it. Yes, we love peace in our nation, but we will not falter when we demand change. Like SEGALink says, we are all born ready. Strong-willed and focus sharp like a brand new machete. Like a machete, these losses cut deep. Souls giving up for our freedom. We'll hold on these scars to win this fight. Because only then shall the soul of the dearly departed have peace. 12 days and 12 nights. That's my piss.
Wow. 12 days and 12 nights. Thank you so much for that poetic. Thank you so much. So we do have some, Roy, I know you've waited for me for a very long time. Oniru, you will go after Roy, so get ready. Roy, are you there, please?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Roy. And you see, I just wonder, I don't have much to say because everything has been said so far. And I think our topic of discourse is the way forward. It's 1 year after our brothers were killed, 1 year after we all came out to air our views, to speak out. You know, personally, when the whole EndSARS protest, hashtag came up, I was, to be honest, I didn't jump on it immediately because we've had a series of, I think, times. You know, I was listening to DJ Swisher's speech. You know, we had trying to reform the police in 2017, different years and all that. So when 2020 came up and I was just looking at the whole thing, I was like, are you sure this will not be another trend, another hashtag that will just come and go and all that? But as time goes on, I started saying something when I saw that the hashtag EndSARS was not just about SARS. It was not just about ending police brutality. There was more to it. It was about ending bad governance and all that. I asked myself a question, Roy, Assuming you sit down and say it no concern you, you are a Nigerian. Even if you run away from your country, you run away, you will still come back, you will still be buried in this land. You are a Nigerian, like it or not. What will happen tomorrow? Assume, okay, you yourself, you are able to hustle your way out of this country. Will you be able to carry everybody from your family out of this country? Personally, like myself, I'm the firstborn of my parents. I have 7 siblings behind me. Will I be able to carry all of them, my family, my father, my mother, out of this country? What will happen to the generation to come? So I ask myself, Kai, you don't have to be selfish. You have to speak. You have to go out there. You have to air your views. You have to add your voice to this struggle, because you're fighting for yourself. You're fighting for the tomorrow. You are fighting for the next generation to come, because I don't know the fights my father or my mother, my parents fought, but I didn't been the generation ahead before us fought the way we fought. Like, for the first time, I say this, I speak this with so much passion, because I was out there. I saw it. I saw the protest with my eyes. It's not something I watched on the screen. It's not something I read. I experienced it. I saw people. I saw Nigerians for the first time. We abandoned religion. We ignored where we are coming from. No, like, oh God. But at the end of the day, everything happened, and so far, like KO rightly said, they've tried to sell fear into us, and at some point, many people are backing out. But I want to tell everybody listening to me right now, including our speakers who I respect so much, that there's more to do, there's more to be done, and the way forward, like Sowore rightly said, is to be bold. Because I myself, if you ask me, if I have to be frank with you, I have my PVC, but I don't think I'll be coming out in 2023 to vote for anybody. Who am I voting for? It's more like putting new wine in old bottles, because these are the same people we've been recycling all over. So I don't see anything new that is happening, be it electronical transmission. They will still, okay, we are still transmitting the same people electronically. So there's nothing new. But I don't know. I'm not a good strategist person or planner per se. I'm more of the executing type, whereby, okay, let's do this, and I'm out there to do it. But I think what we should figure out is how to get this thing done. Okay, this thing happened because of this. We've learned the lessons of what happened during the last EndSARS protest. Okay, what should we do next? I think one of the things we need to do right, is a better orientation, speaking to ourselves, to our fellow youth, because at the end of the day, whether electronically or analog, some youth, my fellow youths like myself, will still go out there to fool around for these same people, for this same government we're trying to fight, just like what they did during the protests. Because the hoodlums that came out are not my fathers, are not my mothers. They are fellow youths like me. So this to tell you that we need to we still have a lot of work to speak to the minds of Nigerians, the younger generations out there. We need to tell them that you can't play, concern me. It concern you, like it or not. So we need to orient people. We need to speak to people. We need to tell them the truth. We need to tell them that this is Nigeria. Nigeria is you. Nigeria is me. Nigeria does not belong to Buhari. Nigeria does not belong to Wicked. Nigeria does not belong to anybody. Nigeria is me. Nigeria is you. If anything goes wrong, it affects you. It affects me. It affects the next generation. So I think that is what we need to do going forward. Speak to every Nigerian youth. Speak to the next generation. Speak to the mind of Nigerians. I think that's my contribution. Thank you.
Nigeria is me. Nigeria is you. That is the truth. That is the truth. Thank you so much for that, Roy. Thank you so much for that. I do have a couple of thoughts surrounding what you said. You mentioned that you have a PVC, but the candidates that currently have come out to show themselves, you don't deem worthy of your vote. I think we must also remember, though, what Dele said before he left. We can't at the same time fold our hands and do nothing. If voting is the means by which we can constitutionally elect people into power, it is a process that must be followed. Now, in terms of the candidates themselves and who they are and the party that they come from, what they stand for, that's another discussion entirely. But we can't neglect the importance of voting. Thank you, everybody, for staying with us this long. We're doing really well. Oniro, are you there, please?
Yes, I have. Good evening, everyone.
You have done tremendously well. Thank you for your patience. The floor is yours. Please try and keep to 3 minutes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good evening one more time, great minds. It's my honor to be here on this platform like this. It means so much to me. My name is Banke. The EndSARS protest was the beginning of a new era for Nigerian youth. The EndSARS is the greatest thing that will ever happen to this generation, either you love it or not. We were all witnesses to the further brutality that Nigerian youth experienced from various Nigerian forces during the protest. Although SARS was forced to be scrapped, our problems are beyond. The anti-squad group was just one of the symptoms of a long list of problems affecting our nation, from achieving its very best and helping its populace realize their potential. Number one is, year after EndSARS, many things haven't changed. It's still the same, even worse. On top of my list is a lack of good governance. Corruption comes next, and the attending culture of impunity. When justice doesn't exist in this actual sense, poor economic management is creeping Nigeria, and yet many people who lost their lives are yet to get the justice. The justice, the throne of the what a nation, once upon a nation, and up until now, the police are still brutalizing the citizen. Nothing has changed. I was a victim months ago, February. I was detained for 4 days alongside 4 people. What is my offense? For doing nothing. I was detained for marching to honor the people that were killed, Nigerian holding flags. They were killed while they were singing national anthems. Sovereignty is actually gone from this nation. And my own opinion, way forward, the major hurdle before us is to actually get the government to listen to the youth. Because I believe no youth, no nation. You're all aware how they categorize the EndSARS protest of 2020 as been anti-government. Who does that? What a leader. Despite all the issues facing our nation, I believe there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. The first thing is that we are talking. Why platforms like this, forums like this, are so important to me. It's educating. Secondly, we need to take steps to participate actively in the affairs of this nation. And thirdly, we should all start with ourselves by beginning to what is right at all times. What is right? Integrity is key. What is integrity? Doing the right thing when no one is watching you, when no one is there. And then one thing again, during the EndSARS, we need to continually build on the success achieved during the EndSARS. That is the more reason We as women can't afford to keep quiet at this time until justice is served and our nation is better. Who has imagined? I will never forget. That was history in the making. The EndSARS again. The way they were so united. The way everyone, both young and old, rich and poor, tall and short, Muslim, Christian, and traditionalists, came together as one during the EndSARS, testified to the fact that everyone wants a better Nigeria. It is high time we set aside all prejudice while putting together as trying to build a better Nigeria. My passion, while I'm doing all this speaking, I'm not a speaker, I'm a better writer, but I'm trying to speak because my passion goes beyond the lucky victor. It's about Nigeria as a whole. I believe that when we speak about the issues that are keeping a nation from becoming great, it might propel our country in the right direction. And I want to see a better Nigeria where people can have better living standards. EndSARS broke me. It broke me so much, so hard. What they did to our people was so horrific. And anyone that will attend memorial is not a genuine citizen of this nation. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for your contribution, Banker. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. All right. So before I take some more speakers, let me quickly refresh the house, and I'll also be making the final call for back channel messages to join the list for speakers. All right. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the White House family on our special edition of the Surge Political Matters show. Our topic today is EndSARS 1 year on, setting the record straight and the way forward. We have had a host of speakers join us over the last 3 hours, and we have spoken a lot and in great detail. Please, if you do come up on stage, kindly mute your mic. We have spoken a lot and in great detail. There are questions yet to be answered, but I also know that there are questions that in reality we may not get answers to. But what I will say is that the conversation does not end today. The conversation continues and the conversation goes on. Kindly follow the house. If you are not following the house, click the little green icon and become a member. We have conversations like this every day concerning every area of life, not just politics. So do well to follow the house. Also follow the mods and follow the speakers. Following the mods is great because it allows us to ping you into the room when we're having shows. Each mod actually hosts their own show. So do well to follow the mods. I am your host, First Lady Dams. So the next person to speak or contribute, and by the way, Roy and Ko Baba, as you are the last of our standing speakers today, if at any point you want to comment on anything that anybody says, do just blink your mic after the speaker and you will be given room to do so. Thank you so much for staying the journey with us. So the next person to, Emmanuel, don't worry, just wait. The next person to speak is Tunde. Tunde, are you there, please?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Tunde, good evening. You have 2 minutes, please. We've got a very long list.
Yeah, no problem. Good evening, House. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to be able to speak. And I appreciate everyone. I just want to say, I don't know if I should say I have a contribution or would I say an opinion. I facilitate with a lot of people that lost their lives during the EndSARS protest. I really pray the Lord comfort their family and grant them eternal rest. But at the same point, I wish the likes of Sowore, SEGALink, and Dele are still online. Before they went, I have something in mind. I don't know, it's an opinion actually, and I don't know, it might sound maybe foolish, it might sound stupid, but yeah, it's what I'm thinking. Because we are just looking at EndSARS protest and the likes. Because I remembered during the Jonathan regime that an increase in price of fuel was carried out. I remembered the NLC, the NUPENG, all these vital stakeholders joined in kind of protesting this kind of thing, and a lot of things happened in Nigeria, and a lot of things changed. My opinion boils down to the fact that I wish the likes of the people that I've mentioned earlier can engage these stakeholders, because obviously the state of the nation has been deteriorated more than this. So I really, really wish these stakeholders can be involved, because when the likes of NLC, NUPENG, and various people speak out and the protest follows it, when things are so bad like this, I believe things would have an impact. Things would change better, because obviously with NUPENG and NLC, we are shutting down the country entirely. But I'm not saying the EndSARS protest or protesting is not working. But as I've said, this is just my opinion. This is what I think, and this is what I feel probably might work. So I so submit at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tunde, and thank you for keeping it short and sweet. Thank you for that. All right, the next person on the list to speak, keeping it to 2 minutes, please, and everybody has 2 minutes. We have a lot of names to get through. This is a long list, and we have been going for 3 hours. If you are wanting to be added to the list, please send hi, as in letter H, letter I, to Boma or Ibrahim in the back channel. This is the last call for speakers for this evening. After this list is done, it's done. So last call. Thank you very much. The next person to speak is Justice. Justice, are you there, please?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
All right, Justice, 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, thank you for this space. It's so unfortunate that the people I want to talk to have left. People like Seke, Sowore, and the Dele facility. It's so unfortunate. Whenever I want to talk about Nigeria, I try to be calm as I could, but it's hard for me because the pain is too much for anybody to bear. And one funniest thing is that I found it funny that people you think that they know don't know even the problem of Nigeria. When we talk about the problem of Nigeria, we want to attribute it to leadership. It's so heartbreaking because Nigeria is a 60-year-old country. Do you want to tell me that Nigeria have never produced any single leader? We have leaders like Michael Opara, Awolowo, Zik of Africa, so many of them, great leaders that Nigeria have produced. And when you look at everybody that comes from Nigeria, wherever they are, they become excellent for whatever they are doing. We have them in Canada, in America, in Europe. But when it comes to Nigeria, why are people failing? I have seen people relocate from where they live back to Nigeria and they still fail. We are talking about the EndSARS, keeping the record straight and the way forward. There's no record to keep straight because the people who are supposed to keep this record straight are not keeping it. If you want to keep the record straight, you have to go to the foundation that this country was built, which is faulty. That's the record that is straight. Nigeria is a business conglomerate said to British with 850,000 pounds that we have not paid. And this thing that British is still laying hold on us is why we are killing our own people. And I want somebody to tell me, in a country like this, We don't want to go back to the foundation. We are afraid to take up the challenge that Nigeria cannot work even in 1 billion years if we don't remove the foundation that Nigeria was upon Nigeria was built. Look at it this way. A country that refused to protect its own people, and people that singing just national anthem was killed. And how is Nigeria me and you? That question have to be answered. How is Nigeria me and you? Why can, and you know the problem I have, and I maybe I'm the one to, somebody should help me and put me on a mental health, and somebody who can lecture me if I'm not going mad, because when I see people think that Nigeria will work, or think that somehow we go through election and Nigeria will get out of this problem, is what makes me sometimes my brain shrinks, because we have tried this thing for 61 years. And up till now, Nigeria is killing his own people. People are dying every day, massacred all places. And we are here talking like, oh, it's a leadership problem, it's a political problem. And we have a country that there's a place that oppress penal code and another place that oppress criminal code. Tell me in a secular country where there are some places that oppress Sharia law and the other place are operating a secular state. David came and tell us that people release a report. And I'm still looking at if anybody can come and tell us that what David said is a lie for the past 2 to 3 weeks, and nobody has debunked that report. And we're in the South, because I look at this room, I see that the majority people in this room are from the South, and we are in the South are always coming up with our too much of learned and the professionalism and the elitism to try to educate people like it's a political and is a leadership problem. But we remove the fact that a certain section of this country have succeeded in this country and decided to conquer and make sure that every part of the country become Islamatized, which there's a fact that they are presenting ourselves, and we're facing a very huge threat of life and property. Our people are dying, and people want me to become patriotic about this country. Are you kidding me? So it's that time we realize and go back to the basis. And the basis, the only solution and the way forward is total disintegration of Nigeria. Let everybody go and mind their borders and heal from this wound that Britain have inflicted on us for over 60 years. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Justice, for your contribution. Total disintegration of Nigeria and everybody to mind their borders. Roy, I can see you blinking. You can respond. Thank you. Roy, did you want to respond?
Yes, please. Good evening. I know everybody, I myself, each time, because this is the first 20th of October though, but I know how I feel every 20th day of every month. I reflect back on the killings of 20th of October, because I watched it live when DJ Switch streamed it. I wasn't myself that day, that evening. I couldn't sleep in the house that evening. I left home, and I think even my parents were worried at some point. You see, I hear everything the last speakers have said. He's speaking from a place of pain, just like every Nigeria, every consigned Nigeria, not every Nigeria, every consigned Nigeria, we speak. But at some point, one thing when my dad insisted that I should go to school, one thing he always told me is that I'm not sending you to school so that you come back and get a job, because there are no obviously literally no jobs in Nigeria. But I'm sending you to school to go get exposed, to go get knowledge, so you can sit and think of better ways of solving problems. And when I was learning mathematics, sometimes my lecturer would be like, most of these things that you're calculating today, you might not see them in everyday life. Like, you won't go and start looking for why. But it's to open your brain, open your mind to solve real life problem using some of the equations you are learning today. So I don't think people from the South, or like the speaker said, are coming online and coming here to just talk. No. You see, we tried using force the first time last year, and we achieved a lot. But at the end of the day, I personally love seeing things from a positive aspect and ignore the negatives. And the positive aspect of the EndSARS protest, which I saw that they've been lying to us all this while. Our leaders have been lying to us. Our preachers, religion leaders, spiritual leaders have been lying to us, because at the end of the day, we saw how united, when we came united, ignoring and leaving our religious background behind, ignoring ages, leaving so many things behind. We saw how united we are, and we saw how we were able to achieve a lot. So I don't think dividing Nigeria is the problem. I don't think that is the solution. No, because we are a strong nation. We are a unique people on this earth. Nigeria is unique, and we need that uniqueness to be the Nigeria we want to be. Because dividing the country for everybody to go their own way will not solve anything. Because it will still create the same problem. And this change we are looking for, this change we want start from everybody individual. We want to change from the way we see things. We want to change from the way we approach things. We want to change from how we address issues. That is how we become a better Nigeria. So I still believe, I'm still positive about this Nigeria. I'm still positive about our fights, the EndSARS and bad governance. I believe it's something achievable, because we saw it. I was out there. I saw it. I experienced it. I saw how people came out. Up to the point that even people who were disabled, I saw people joining the protest on crutches, like wheelchairs, people, oh my God. So this is achievable. It's just, like I said, when we see Nigeria, that I am Nigeria, you are Nigeria, and we want Nigeria to be better. Not for me, not for you, but for everybody, for the next generation to come. Things will get better. Dividing the country will not solve the problem. Rather, if you ask me, it will even create more problems. Thank you. That's my contribution.
Thank you so much, Roy. Thank you so much. Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. I completely understand where you're coming from. All right. A couple of questions have come into my back channel. And I just want to ask them to find out. And if anybody on the stage knows the answer, please feel free to do so. So the question is, was there an EndSARS protest in the north, that is outside of Abuja? Was there an EndSARS protest in the north? Because there was an anti-SARS protest. And if we're saying that we are united, did the North join or were they against? Does anybody know the answer to this question?
Yeah, I can answer that. Based on the judicial panels that were set up, I know for sure that there were protests in Kaduna and Kano. And the judicial panels had petitions in Katsina, Kaduna, Niger, Bauchi, Gombe, Adamawa, Plateau, Taraba, Nasarawa, and Benue. Well, Benue and Kwara, which are North Central. So, there you go.
Thank you so much, Yemi. Thank you for that. It's appreciated. All right. The next person to speak is Emmanuel. Emmanuel, are you there, please?
Yes, I am.
Emmanuel, 2 minutes, please. We're coming to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. I know a lot of you have back-channeled, but understand that the conversation continues. It does not end today. Let's see what happens tomorrow. There are a lot of activities going on tomorrow, and a lot of people need to prepare to make their presence known and felt at these activities. So the conversation will continue. If we don't take you today, don't feel neglected, don't feel underappreciated. You are appreciated, and we will take your contribution another day. Emmanuel, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Dami. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. I will try to keep it short. It's so painful. I'm trying not to be emotional. You know, while we are yet talking about this, in one of the rooms, international politics, and I can't remember the clubhouse name now, this afternoon, even while I was in transit, because I was traveling from Lagos to a site of mine in Ondo State. You know, while we are yet talking about the same problem, that EndSARS was just a connotation. It's like, I don't know what to call it. A trigger.
A catalyst.
For majority of, thank you, a catalyst. For majority of the issues we are battling with. There we are right in the midst of that same ugly head of a problem. I witnessed today, yes, a set of police and another set, right where I'm being stopped, being extorted between Lagos and Ondo State. I cannot, as in, even after documents have been checked and everything is intact, they still want to forcefully collect money from you, and they are not willing to delay you. A trip of about 6-7 hours, I spent over 12 hours. And I witnessed how 2 sets of policemen, different group now, you know, they are categorized by tasks. They were ready to exchange in gun battle. Yes. This is what we are dealing with day in, day out. We saw a video that went viral a few days back. It's still there. It's not gone away. It's on the street of Lagos. Name it. Where? It's everywhere. EndSARS police brutality is just a catalyst. There's still so much more gruesome, horrible, terrifying experiences. And trust me, it's a pity most of the people I really on top of this night, they are no longer here. You know, when I listen to Daddy Dele TV, I know he's not crazy, he's not mad, but he's actually speaking from the agonizing experience he's been with, his experience over these decades. He's been here for a while to know that we need to come up, we need to wake up. We need to wake up. Because these people are not going to change. Okay, what has been the outcome of their congresses? They're already permutating and combinating their nonsense elections. They are putting their people, even the youths that were thinking it's only by belonging to APC or PDP that they can make a change. They are not giving them the space. They don't want to come there. And those ones that will actually bow to these cocoons will actually be given the opportunity because they know they can dictate to them to actually do their biddings. And I asked a question this afternoon. Tell me, so which political party, if we must engage in political exercise? Because it's start that, which one? Because if you're actually not having the conversation towards this line or towards this topic, then what is going to happen 2023? Because these people are already busy preparing their houses. And I can tell you, they know the ones that will do the job will never be allowed to get. We can call names. We know people, male and female of integrities, name different political parties. Now they have even all been deregistered. Name it. Is it from Madam Ezekwesili? Name it. Party told me, name it. Name it, please keep naming Dele Momodu. All of these people have tried. They even when they are close to the people in government. Okay, what is so wrong in Ashwadwala Ahmed Tinubu? What can he do for this country at his age? Why can't he really believe that these younger ones can actually do it and then let him give them that? Let him use his godfatherism influence to bring it back. They will never yield the power to us. So if we keep, just dressing this thing, and we do not wake up. I'm not for riot. I'm not for unnecessary agitation that's not going to bring us any tangible results, but truth must be said. See, I won't lie to you, brothers and sisters, as much as I will actually do my, as a patriotic Nigerian, when the need arises to actually do what is needful of me, and my conscience will actually judge me right that I have actually given all my best to this nation. When the opportunity presents itself, all right, to actually leave the space, I am ready and done with it. With the experiences of what I've actually seen, and I'm not getting younger, and I kept asking myself, what will I actually be leaving behind to my unborn children if this space continues to be this way? Because if I cannot effect any change now, so who will come and actually effect the changes? These are questions that I go to bed and sleep and I still wake up with them, and I look around me, nothing seems to have changed so much. And more reason why we must keep having these conversations. I yield the mic.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for that.